Dollar in danger. How Trump is undermining confidence in the world's most powerful currency. You're about to hear a truth the mainstream media won't tell you. A financial storm is brewing, and the man standing at the center of it, once again, is Donald Trump. But this time, it's not about walls, rallies, or elections. It's about the dollar. The most powerful currency on Earth. The lifeblood of the global economy. And right now, that very foundation is cracking. If you think your savings are safe, think again. If you think the dollar is untouchable, this video might shake your beliefs. Before we go further, take a moment to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below. Do you think Trump is protecting or destroying the US economy? Your voice matters, especially in times like these. Now let's get into the fire. The dollar's power, and why it's at risk. For decades, the US dollar has been the world's ultimate safe haven. It's not just paper, it's trust. Countries hold it in reserve, global trade is settled in it, and commodities like oil are priced in it. The dollar isn't just America's currency, it's the planet's default currency. That dominance gives the US unparalleled economic power, the ability to sanction nations, print money with less fear of inflation, and borrow at low interest rates. But what happens when the world starts losing trust in it? That's exactly what's happening. Slowly. Quietly. And much of it has to do with Trump. Trump versus the Fed, a dangerous game. Since his first term, Donald Trump has waged a relentless war against the Federal Reserve, the institution tasked with managing America's monetary policy independently of political interference. Why? Because Trump wants low interest rates at any cost. He's openly attacked Fed officials, especially former Chair Jerome Powell, for not cutting rates fast enough, often blaming them for slowing down his economic agenda. Now with Trump eyeing a return to the White House, that war is reigniting and escalating. He's made it clear that if re-elected, he wants direct control over the Fed, effectively destroying its independence. According to reports, Trump allies are already drawing up plans to purge the central bank and install loyalists who would follow his economic orders without resistance. Let that sink in. The President of the United States would directly manipulate the monetary system to serve political ends. That kind of authoritarian financial policy is the exact reason why developing countries suffer from hyperinflation, capital flight, and economic collapse. The threat of dollar devaluation. Trump's obsession with a weak dollar isn't new. He's repeatedly said that a weaker currency helps exports and fuels growth. In theory, he's not wrong. But in reality, the consequences are much more dangerous, especially when the global financial system is built on faith in a strong and stable dollar. By pushing the Fed to cut rates aggressively or print money irresponsibly, Trump is fueling inflationary pressures and undermining the dollar's value. Investors and foreign governments notice that. They see the politicization of the US financial system and they begin to ask a dangerous question. Can we still trust the dollar? Capital flight, the silent exodus. The first sign that something is wrong? Capital flight. Investors don't wait for a total collapse. They start pulling their money out when they sense risk on the horizon. And that's already happening. Over the past year, major hedge funds and institutional investors have been increasing their holdings in non-dollar assets. Gold purchases are surging. Foreign exchange reserves in countries like China, Russia, and even Saudi Arabia are being diversified away from the dollar. Central banks are buying yuan, euros, and gold, not just as a hedge, but as a deliberate move to reduce dollar dependency. Why? Because the world is tired of America's political chaos bleeding into its financial leadership. Gold is roaring back. Look at gold. For decades, it's been considered a relic safe, but outdated in the modern economy. Not anymore. Gold is back in fashion, and it's not because of jewelry or tradition. It's because gold is real. It's immune to the whims of politicians. In times of instability, gold rises. And with Trump's threats to dismantle the independence of the Fed, investors are bracing for the worst. Recent spikes in gold prices aren't just market trends, they're alarm bells. They're telling us that the dollar isn't what it used to be, and people are seeking safer ground. The rise of the yuan. Then there's China. While America fights itself internally, China is playing the long game. Through its Belt and Road Initiative, China has been promoting the use of the yuan in global trade deals. Nations in Africa, Latin America, and even parts of Europe are beginning to settle debts and contracts in yuan rather than dollars. China has also launched a digital yuan, giving it more flexibility and appeal in international finance. It's still far from overtaking the dollar, but the momentum is clear. The dollar's share of global reserves is shrinking, and the yuan's influence is growing. What happens when countries no longer need the dollar to trade oil? Or when more central banks choose yuan over dollars? It's the beginning of the end of dollar supremacy. Losing reserve status, the ultimate collapse. Here's the real nightmare scenario, and it's not far-fetched. If enough countries lose trust in the dollar, it could lose its status as the global reserve currency. That would mean exploding interest rates for U.S. debt, skyrocketing inflation, plummeting demand for U.S. Treasury bonds, a collapse in American purchasing power. In short, America would go from being the world's financial leader to just another debtor nation struggling to finance itself. This isn't a conspiracy. It's simple economics. Trust is everything, and Trump is eroding that trust every time he politicizes monetary policy, attacks financial institutions, or proposes reckless economic strategies. What Trump's return could mean. A second Trump term, with his allies in place and control over the Fed, could ignite the next great currency crisis. His team has hinted at using the central bank to directly stimulate the economy with unchecked money printing. That might bring a short-term boom, but it would be a long-term disaster. Foreign investors would run. The bond market would collapse. Inflation would spin out of control. And the dollar would lose its final shield, credibility. What's worse, Trump's worldview is transactional. He doesn't care about global confidence or long-term stability. If printing money gets him votes, or punishing the Fed gets him headlines, he'll do it, regardless of the consequences. Conclusion: the dollar's fate is in our hands. The dollar doesn't fall in one day. It falls in silence. In quiet decisions made by central banks in Beijing, Berlin, and Riyadh. In the shifting portfolios of hedge funds and governments. In the growing piles of gold and digital currencies replacing the greenback. Trump is not the only threat. But he's accelerating the fall. If the world can no longer count on America to protect its currency from political interference, then the world will find another currency. It's that simple. Now, we want to hear from you. Is Trump putting the dollar in danger, or saving it? Do you think the world should keep trusting the U.S. financial system? Let us know in the comments. And if this message resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with someone who still believes.